Hello everyone and happy spring equinox. We are the first day into the sun crossing the subsolar point, moving north of the celestial equator. So that means the days are increasing in length. We're going to have more solar energy hitting our part of the world. So we're well into spring, and so we're well into the production year, or at least beginning to dream about the outdoor production year. So with that, I wanted to make another video, kind of just talking a little bit about what's going on at SoSuCo. It's a lovely day. It's in the low 70s, upper 60s with kind of mixed sunshine, a little bit of haze. I know it's pretty blue out there. I'm standing inside the high tunnel with the door open. I've turned the vent fan off. It's just checking the data loggers in here, and it's 80 degrees inside of the high tunnel. So getting lots of solar gain from this early spring day. So we're well into spring, in fact into early summer almost with today's conditions inside of the high tunnel. So we'll take a look at what's going on in here as we transition through seasons in the tunnel. And then we'll just take a quick look outside to see what's going on out of doors and where we're at in terms of bed preparation and getting ready for the first outdoor plantings of the year, because those are just right around the corner, if not pretty much ready to go in some cases. So we'll take a quick look at that, and hopefully I can get this vlog out to everyone soon. Our newsletter is coming out hopefully today for the spring equinox. And yeah, happy plantings, and we're gonna jump right in to see what we got going on here at the demo site. All right, so here we are. And you see I have the thermostat set up to 80. Ooh, let me focus in on that. 80 degrees, because it is warm in here. If I turn it down to the 70 set point, it's going to go ahead and turn on. That's way too loud, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. Kick that up even above 80 degrees. So inside the high tunnel, things are just absolutely greened up, moving forward at a fast pace. We have harvested our overwintered spinach once. Well, we may come in and harvest this one more time and then start clearing this out, because we have a lot of early summer crops that we're getting ready to plant in here. But I have a few late winter crops that I've already planted in here that we'll discuss here in a second. But all of these are overwintered beds right here. In fact, you can start to see these mustards starting to bolt, send their flowers up. I've been harvesting quite a bit from this closely spaced sort of mixed kale variety. Here is white Russian kale planted at a really dense spacing. This has been producing some really lovely baby kale, with something I've been wanting to try out. So rather than harvesting kale in the big fashion, which we see over there in that bed, just wanted to experiment with harvesting this at a very small stage. So you can see these are really, really tiny leaves, and they're great for salads or stir fries or other options just like that. Continuing to have very little vole pressure. I did catch one vole in here the other day, but since we completed our exterior moat and barrier, we haven't seen as much vole damage in here. So if you can get your tunnel closed off and not make many routes for the voles to enter, then you can actually really reduce your vole pressure in here. So you can start to see this spinach, this overwintered spinach, is starting to bolt, have those sort of diamond arrow shaped leaves. That means the spinach is on its way out. You can see a little bit of yellowing here, but still some green on the regrowth. Nitrogen in here should be pretty good. I did a saturated media test a couple weeks ago, just got the standard soil test reports back. But as they mature, they're going to start to show a little bit of signs of nitrogen deficiency. Essentially old age too in a lot of ways. I mean, some of these spinach plantings are 120 plus days old at this point. And a lot of stuff is bolting. So this arugula variety is finally bolting, as you can see there. And and most of the brassica greens are starting. Even these overwintered kales are starting to bolt in a couple spots. You can see there the beginnings of sort of kale broccoliettes that I'll harvest and eat. Those are really delectable. But most of this we're starting to transition. So we do have a couple new planted areas right in here. So you can see I've planted some lettuce and kale. These are transplants in both of these beds right here. So these are very specific bed space rate codes, with the kales being 3 rows and about 12-inch spacing, 10 to 12-inch spacing on a 30-inch bed top. And then here, this is a variety of lettuce. These are called the easy leaf lettuce, so very similar to Salanova. I believe that these are from High Mowing, which gets them from another breeding company. I can't remember the name off the top. But these will be the easy leaf and Salanova. The idea is that you kind of plant it like a head lettuce, where you can harvest the leaves multiple times, kind of like baby salad. So we're trying it out in here in the tunnel. We're actually going to be doing a big trial with easy leaf and this type of lettuce outdoors this season that we'll talk about later. We have a few direct seedings. Here's a planting of radishes and some carrots that are just starting to germinate a little bit in here. So we'll be kind of clearing out the spinach, these overwinter plantings, doing a little bit more of this late winter, early spring plantings in the tunnel, and then all of this will be transitioned back into tomatoes and cucumbers primarily for our yearly tomato variety trial. So we're going to be looking at a few different new tomato varieties specifically for the high tunnel, as well as doing a fun variety trial with 2 early tomatoes. One's called Early Girl and the other is New Girl. So similar early 60-day kind of 4 to 6 ounce red slicer tomatoes, but we're going to be messing with the irrigation levels as treatments. So really controlling the drip irrigation. Here's 2 of the outlets right here. And trying to replicate a version of dryland farming in the tunnel itself. See if we can enhance the sweetness of those Early Girl tomatoes. It's a common practice out in California. Last summer I got to try some dry farmed Early Girls, and they were just absolutely delectable. Way better in terms of sort of sweetness than the Early Girls I was producing here in the tunnel at the time. So I'm going to try that out to see if that's worthwhile, because that might be a value-added proposition if you can grow a super sweet 4 to 6 ounce slicer tomato. It's maybe just as sweet as a cherry potentially. So we'll see how that goes. So let's just take a quick look outside to see what we have going on. It'll be a little windy, so I apologize. We did some cleanup work last week, kind of clearing out some of the overwintered material in these raised beds. And then we actually had a couple areas that we wanted to tarp. So we have these 2 beds tarped in southeast, and then we actually have 2 beds tarped out here. So this is northeast bed 3 and northwest bed 3 as well. So we got a little rain, and most of these beds were drying out pretty nicely. And in fact, if I come down in here to kind of work this up a little bit, it's still pretty moist. Really dig down in there. So in terms of getting in here to do any sort of tillage or bed prep, we might still be a little ways off, which is why I tarped some of these areas so I could get in here a little bit quicker. But the areas that I tarped correspond with the beds that I'm planning on putting our very first spring plantings in. So kind of giving myself a bit of a head start. Here are the berm beds, and these berm beds are actually pretty dry. Remember, this is an imported media. This isn't native soil. So this is a compost and soil mixture. And it's still pretty wet, a few inches down. It's forming a pretty nice ball, but it's crumbling. But these beds are going to dry out quicker. If I needed to till or incorporate some amendments, or need to work this so I'd feel more comfortable with these beds. But in here, I actually have planned for, I believe, our onions, 1 bed of peppers, or part of pepper, a full bed dedicated to herbs, I should say. And then I think one part of the peppers are going to be there as well. So Feeling pretty good about bed prep out here. At my home farm, it's still a bit wet, and that's a native soil, kind of like these areas up here, northwest and northeast quadrants. But we're getting close. We got a little bit of rain in the forecast, but it looks like it's not overcomable. These raised beds actually are all pretty well worked. In fact, when I looked at the standard soil test that I just did for the raised beds and these burn beds, I mean, the cation organic matter levels are just through the roof, because these again are pictures of compost. It's pretty much probably a 50-50 blend of compost, landscape waste compost, and topsoil, pretty high quality topsoil. And I've also amended them a little bit with some of these meal-based fertilizers like blood meal and things like that last year. So probably won't have to do too much with these beds. In fact, we'll just need to probably rake them out and start getting them planted. They don't need to work that much. It's one of the nice things about having these built structured raised beds is that you don't need to do a lot of bed prep. You can start working in them. We've got most of our irrigation system still laid out. We kind of emptied as much of the water out as we could in the fall, and I'm confident that it'll work pretty well. Normally you might, with a pressure tank, blow out all the water in a system like this, but I just let gravity kind of drain most of it out. I'm hoping that was enough. Got a couple compost projects going on. We're going to start this in-bed vermicompost bin. We have another of those flow-through vermicompost reactors inside the tunnel there, as you can see. We're going to get those going soon, as well as revamping our outdoor composting area just outside of the fence in the distance there. We're going to be doing a compost demonstration here for our compost ambassador training in a few weeks. Here are some the spent mushroom substrate that I received from, I believe it's 4-Star Mushroom Farms in Chicago. Trying to do a little bit of work with this. Might use this as one of our fertility amendment treatments for our Easy Leaf outdoor trial this spring. Trialing it out in some potting mixes as well to see if it could be a peat substitute or diluted with peat so you don't have to use as much peat. So I got quite a few projects going on here this summer, and things are starting to ramp up in the high tunnel with transplant production, and there'll be a lot more to come from SoSuCo this early spring. So we'll go ahead and leave it there. I hope everyone is having a good start to the spring, get your transplant started, and get ready for the outdoor season. So take care, and we'll check in soon. Happy spring equinox.